everyone. Welcome to 19 O'Clock News, a Kodocha podcast featuring me, That Kodocha Girl, and Mahou Shoujo M. And today we have a special guest, and her name is Lee. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Lee.
Hello, people on YouTube. It is a pleasure to be here today. I am very excited, and I know that I will be having a lot of fun today. I am Konomono Mocha on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, and other platforms. So go check out my account, and it's glad to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so thrilled to have you. I have to brag on our guest a little bit before we get started. You know, one, Lee has cultivated almost 5,000 followers across platforms, which is huge. And is also responsible for uploading raw materials for other creators to use. She has been an amazing resource for me with screenshots that I use in my memes and content for Daily Kodocha, and in the footage that I use for AMVs and other edits. So we're very thankful to her for that.
Yeah, thank you. And I go to the Pinterest all the time. You guys should check out her Pinterest. It is amazing.
Yes.
And I usually go there when I'm making thumbnails for my YouTube videos.
Such a good use. She's also the resident expert on all things Naozumi Kamura. So when we decided we wanted to do an episode on Naozumi Kamura, we knew exactly who we needed to have on the show. So thank you so much for joining us.
So happy to be here and to be able to talk about my favorite boy. So come at me. I will tell you everything I know, and I will be so glad to join you guys in this conversation.
Ah, I'm so excited. So I guess just to kind of kick us off, Ari, what do you think if we ask first before we get into our sweet baby boy now? Should we ask Lee how she found Kodocha?
Absolutely. So how did you find the series initially?
Well, it is kind of funny the way I found it. I was just scrolling down through some YouTube videos when a compilation of Sana's and Akito's kisses showed up suddenly, and I was interested. It was my first time getting introduced to kisses into anime after Sailor Moon, which was the very first anime I got exposed to. And then I just clicked it. I saw the video and I was like, oh, I definitely need to see this anime. So I tried to look for it on the internet, and it was actually a plot twist. I ended up watching Gaku and Alisa instead, and it was funny. And I didn't realize it was a whole different anime until I was like episode 8 of it, because I was just so immersed on it. But after I finished it, I was like, something's not right. So I decided to go to that video I watched in the past, and actually said that in the description, you could find the name of the anime. So I tried it, and I just fell in love with it.
Oh, I love that so much. It's so funny how everybody has a different sort of thing that led them to Kodocha, but the response and the deep love for the series always kind of is consistent, you know?
Yeah.
I love that. So when watching the show, how did Naozumi become your favorite character? What is it about him that you love?
If I could start speaking, I would last hours. So let me just make it a small summary on it. It's like Naozumi is different. You know, in his first appearance, he didn't make it so obvious that he had a thing for Sana. So it was like he was shown to be shy, for which he like kind of decided to leave Sana with a hook for her to show her interest in him, which was he telling her that he knew her secret. And at first I was like, oh, who is this guy? What is he doing? That's us. And then he got found out by her, and he confessed his crime, which was that he was a big fanboy of Sana, and he showed all these albums of her, and Sana was like, oh my God. And it's not like, it's not like he just fell in love with her because she's pretty. Something that I like about him is that his love for her feels organic, because she was the kind of like the mother that pushed him to move on when he was feeling sad every day in the orphanage when he was a little boy because he had no parents. Then she became his motivation after he saw how she, who was an orphan just like him, became this super happy child that decided to act and make other people's life happier. So he made it so that she became his motivation, then his role model, and then lately, she became his love interest. And the fact that he also helped her in the manga when they were children, when Sana had her doll condition disease, it just made me happy to know that his feelings were conveyed to her, even though it was only a little bit. He is so kind yet selfish when it comes to Sana. He being lovely yet reserved, and him doing all within his powers to make the girl he loves be happy is just part of why I love him so much. He's just wow to me.
Yeah, those are some really good points. As a person who is definitely a hardcore Sana and Akito shipper, I do love Natsumi. He's like probably the only rival in love in an anime and manga series that I actually was like, okay, I could see the main character and, this rival working out romantically as well. And yeah, he usually like a good example would be if you guys have ever seen the Marmalade Boy series. I've only seen part of it. I couldn't finish it, but that's a story for another time. But the rival in that show, his name was Ginta. He was kind of a jerk. But Natsumi, I never felt like, even when he was passive aggressive with Akito, I never felt that he was just outright mean. I think he always had the best interests of Sana deep down. Also, back to that point about, when they first introduced his character and he was like, I know your secret. I actually at first thought, oh, okay, that's like a secret long lost brother.
Oh, that's kind of ironic considering arcs that come later in the anime. Yeah, I honestly, that kind of parting line, like the I know your secret, I wish I could remember like what my initial reaction was to that, but it's just so like our sweet angel boy to he's always got to have a dramatic reveal, he'll do that throughout the series. Like,
well, he is an actor.
Fact.
Meanwhile, it's kind of funny though, because Sana is also an actor, and while she does have a flair for the dramatic, it's in a very different way, I also just I was rereading it the other day, and I really loved I love that their very first commercial, the ballerina commercial, might be one of my favorites that Sana shoots over the course of the series. I think it's so cute.
It was. And seeing the animated version of it made me so happy, even though the colors, due to the time, weren't like such as high quality. When I got my Blu-ray, the first thing that I did was actually go and rewatch where Naozumi will show up, and it felt like a whole new world. It's so beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
especially his eyes, his blue eyes. I think he's the only character who has blue eyes in the series.
I think so too. And Cecile, but
oh yes.
I think that's it, but you're not wrong. Let's okay, so do we want to dive into Mansion of Water arc?
Oh yes.
A wonderful time. I really love, that arc is so great for so many reasons, but one of the things that I really loved was how Naozumi and Sana push each other like as performers. They sharpen each other. Naozumi's like, oh, she's serious, I need to like up my game, basically. And so they're good foils for each other in that sense,
I agree.
That's something I found super helpful too. The fact that he, even though he is in love with her, he doesn't want to be left behind. It's like, I love you, but I also have a career that I developed and I want to move on with this career. So I'm not going to let you overtake me because I also want to become the best on this. So it's like, even though he has started his whole career thanks to her, he is not just going to let her take the spotlight, but he also wants to be the one to take the spotlight, and he wants to move on. And that's super strong because it tells you that even in the possible whole universe that they do be getting together, they are still going to be rivals when it comes to work and still going to be lovers. So it's like, it feels so nice to know.
I also thought it was really sweet at the beginning when like Ray finds out like, oh, Natsumi's gonna be the main character in this movie, and he like freaks out, and and Sana's just like rolling with it. She's like super sweet about it. She's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think too, like, thinking about from a performance standpoint, like that competition, that like kind of healthy competition that they have, I think, only results in, a better movie overall. And I think it's like, I love that the director was like, I don't treat you guys like child actors, I treat you like actors. Because, he knew that they both have the skills to act on that level.
I wanted to bring up something I noticed when I was rereading the chapter and watching the anime. There's a part when the director approaches Sana one-on-one, and in the manga, it's pretty brief and it's not really notable. But he says basically that, like, I'm not treating you all like children in this film. But in the anime, he not only brings up that, but he also says something like, I hope by the end of this, people fall in love. And I thought that was something in the anime that I actually thought they did better.
That's interesting. That's such a strange thing to say too, especially, I don't know about you guys, I'm thinking about the Mizu no Yakata manga and like knowing the story of the movie, or like the plot within the movie is a little bit, I don't know, it's kind of a creepy story. I wouldn't call it a love story, So I'm like, why are you saying that?
Well, I mean, look at the director. He's pretty weird.
He is.
That totally makes sense.
Fair enough. Other favorite Mansion of Water arc moment for me is the arm wrestle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Just really get a kick out of that scene.
I kind of felt bad for Naozumi. Like, he just...
He was so confident about it.
He really was. Bless his little angel baby self. I also just feel like I keep saying that about him, but he is the angelest baby to ever live.
And him trying to act all tough when he couldn't eat peppermint gum.
Oh,
like,
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what does he eat?
That was so adorable.
Right? Oh, steamed rice only for our sweet boy.
I'm a man. I'm not a little boy anymore. Look at me, Sana. Sure.
Oh yeah, and then not to mention the part when Sana is like, oh, let's check out the love scene between Asako and that other guy in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And he's just like he's blown his trumpet on the side. He can't handle it.
It's too much.
I thought it was really funny because, I feel like in a situation like that, the boy would be more prone to peeking in the window, but no,
right.
it's Sana.
That's our girl.
Can we take a moment to appreciate the fact that he put his career, he put everything at risk when he saw how these three girls that were fans of his were like harming Sana. He didn't think twice before grabbing this stick to hit them up. I was like, boy, chill. He was so out of control. I was so in shock when I saw him react that way. Like, I should have expected him to get angry, but to the point of where he will be the one to like hit them first instead of Sana like just being yelling at them. He took the control and he was like about to hit them back. Like, what did you do to my girl? What did you do to Sana? I was like, boy, chill. But damn, that was so brave of you.
It's and I think it's probably one of the, I mean, I can't think of another instance in the series where you see him get that angry. So I find that really, it's kind of an interesting comparison to Akito, who is, it's not angry all the time, but just like more frequently, I guess,
He has more, I always felt like he was more, what the word would be. I feel like he doesn't really get angry. Like, we see angry moments, like, at the beginning of the series when Sana wants to help him. He gets pretty angry, and he pulls out the knife. But I feel like he's just got this kind of just underlying, it's a very moody...
It's like a pent-up frustration is how I think
frustrated. That's the perfect word for it. Yeah, he's just a very, very frustrated person. He kind of just lets things kind of boil inside of him and he doesn't really show it. And I feel like that part that Lee was talking about with Naozumi defending Sana and going after those girls that were attacking her, I think that just makes that whole scene even more powerful. It really conveys the message that, okay, his feelings for Sana are very serious.
And after seeing that, I actually started to take a deeper look into it and realized that this is why he has his trumpet. Like he's presented to us as a mature, calm, super soft boy who is so open and so nice. But then we get this introduction of him having to play his trumpet every time his emotions are all over the place. And it tells you that he isn't just this a sweet little boy all the time, but he's working on controlling all these overwhelming feelings he has by playing this trumpet. And in that moment was when like it hit my head like, oh, this is why he plays his trumpet so much, to calm him down, to make him chill so that he doesn't make mistakes such as the one he did here, where he just grabbed the stick and was ready to fight these girls out of rage without thinking the consequences out of it.
You know, oh, sorry.
Sorry. So much to say. But you know, when we were talking about that, I actually had it in my head. I was like, you know, in a way, he's like a less aggressive Tsuyoshi. Like the trumpet's kind of like the big blow-ups, but it's more, you know, it's he gets out his frustrations in a healthier way. But I feel like he's a lot like Tsuyoshi in that sense, where he kind of is very calm most of the time and level-headed, but then when he gets overwhelmed, he needs to let it out in a big dramatic way.
Well, that's something too, as you know, and I hadn't thought about this until Lee said something, but Naozumi like pausing with his trumpet, it's not unlike what Akito does whenever he needs to kick something. And or when Tsuyoshi like, you know, goes full throttle. You know, so that it's kind of interesting that I guess like all of the young men in the series have some sort of like outlet like that.
That's right.
I hadn't thought of it like that before.
Me neither.
And when we think about it too, Sana doesn't have anything like this. Like we can say that maybe the way that she lets her emotions out are when she's working, because she does take on more work when she's feeling stressed or she wants to avoid situations like what happened with Akito and Fuka, where she just decided to take more work for her so that she will be able to give them space and not focus on it. But actually work makes her busier, makes her have more problems. So I am not really sure if that's her way of taking out of her feelings, because it's overwhelming. She says she likes it and she laughs in the manga and in the anime as well when she's doing Kodocha, literally Kodocha, the inside Kodocha, yeah. I found that to be funny. She's like, oh, I'm happy when I'm working. This is what I can do to get myself distracted from all these issues that I'm facing. But at the same time, I don't see her as happy at all. Like at first she was happy while doing the shows and stuff, but then she started to get overwhelmed every night and she would often talk about her feelings and stuff. And I was like, God, this is not working for you. So it's like if we have Tsuyoshi breaking stuff, we have Naozumi playing the trumpet, and we got Akito doing karate, then what is her way of letting things out? Which is, that's just like a big thing that one can think of.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really the biggest part of what she learns throughout the series is just learning how to deal with her emotions in a healthy way and not always putting so much focus on other people, because she's always worrying about Rei, she's always worrying about how Akito feels, how Fuka feels. And I did want to mention that even before she finds out that Fuka's dating Akito, she has that song in the first half of the series. I know it was after the episode where she visits the orphanage with Natsumi. And she has that song she does, and she's like, I work so I can relax. So I feel like she's always like had that for pretty much her whole life.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure for somebody who goes between the ages of 11 to 13 over the course of the show, like especially like in some of the later chapters when she's dealing with fame on just a completely different level. You know, her and Naozumi both, and they handle it pretty maturely, all things considered. You know,
Truly. Sometimes I forget that they were only 11 years old in the first volumes, and I see them dealing with all these situations like grown young adults from the ages 16 to 18, and then I think about it and I'm like, oh wow, these are just 11-year-old children. What is this?
Right? Like I never feel like I'm watching an anime about children. I feel like they're about 14 or 15. That's what they feel like to me. And it takes me a while to remember that sometimes.
Oh yeah. I feel like that's such an anime thing though. Like, I think my husband was very distressed to learn recently that the Sailor Moon main cast are in 8th grade. He was like, I thought they were like 25. They do look 25. You're not wrong.
That's odd though, but because they go to school.
My husband's never seen an episode of Sailor Moon, so
Oh,
he's
okay.
going
Makes
off of
sense.
like, posters, marketing, like everybody I think has at least seen the characters, could pick her out of a lineup, even knowing nothing about the show,
Mhm.
Any other thoughts on
All right.
Mansion of Water arc? Oh, I have one more thought actually. I know I just asked you guys, but I have my last thought on Naozumi in that arc, which is when Sana gets out of the burning mansion and the shot is finished and stuff, and he protects her from the
yes.
fire fallout and burns his poor baby back. My
That
boy.
That whole arc though, it has so many amazing scenes. That one, and then I have to mention this one. The part when, the fallout with Fuka and everything, she finds out that Akito's dating her and she's sitting outside the cabin at night and Natsubi comes out and she's crying and then he starts crying and then they hug like for the longest time, and like the way that he cries is just heartbreaking. Like I actually rewatched that episode this week and like I couldn't do it. Like it was, like I actually put it off because that episode is just so intense for me emotionally.
I was trying to ignore that part. That's why I didn't bring it up because it's so emotional.
I
Anyway, you guys won me over.
Well, I feel like that's something too over the entire course of the series. Like when we see Naozumi, it's typically a very emotionally charged moment. Like it's very rarely a casual appearance from him. They have to kiss for a commercial and all of the feelings that come around that. There's when he calls her on Christmas Eve and because he can't show up there and has the kids sing the song. Like that's really beautiful and kind of emotional, and yeah, he doesn't come around just to be silly and then leave, Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Like he shows up whenever the sentimental things are happening, and he's always there to either listen to them, either to support her on it, or to just help her escape from it. Because this part in specific where they're both crying, it will sound ironic because Sana is the one who just discovered that she liked Akito and then she has her heart broken, but the one screaming from the depths of his heart was Naosumi because she rejected him. It's like he felt it harder than she, and that's why you could hear his voice over hers. And she was just standing there trying to process all the situation, yet she wasn't able to scream it out. Instead, Naosumi was the one who was hugging her tight and leaving this all of his emotions out. And that was so powerful, yet so sad. I always try to skip that part of the Mansion of Water arc because I know that I will get emotional over it and it will make me sad and it will make me remember that whatever Sana and Naosumi have, it's more of like a I'm here for you than a possible relationship kind of idea thing. It just hurts so much.
Yeah, and that's why it's so tragic, is because that like I feel like most people who watch the series know that Sana and Akito are probably gonna end up together. And it's just like I'm tearing up a little bit right now. It's getting really heavy here.
Yeah.
On 19 o'clock news.
Just
That is
sad about our
lighting up
sweet
the
boy.
mood.
I just never want our boy to be sad. And he's
That's
just
true.
sad a lot.
Let's lighten this up and change the topic to them being happier after and he being happy for her because that's our boy.
That is our boy.
Yes.
And that's actually something. Are we kind of wrapped up with Mansion of Water? I kind of want to dive into Naozumi revealing Sana rejected him and
I was just gonna bring that up.
Leading
Sounds
Akito
great.
to a conclusion. A confession even.
Exciting things arising.
Oh yeah. That episode / chapter where Naozumi's doing the interview and says that Sana rejected him and that there's somebody else she likes and that he you know, that somebody, and basically revealing that she likes Akito, at least to Akito. A question that I've always had is like, I don't know, that entire thing was very based on, like, that working was very based on Akito watching TV at that exact moment, you know, and happening to
Mhm.
catch that interview.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a stars aligned moment there. Because otherwise, like, Sana could have gotten mad at Naozumi over a bit. If Akito hadn't seen it, then it wouldn't have led to anything, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, they've done that a lot in the series where they turn on the TV and it's like instantly what they needed to see at that moment, which, you know, it's not realistic, but you know, it's part of the magic of the series or magic of any
Cinema.
series because, you know, that I feel like that happens in everything. Like it's just always a weird coincidence for
The
the
magic
sake of the
of
plot.
the magic of cinema, I suppose. Um, but I just always thought that was kind of funny. I would like to talk about with that moment when Sana goes over to Naozumi's apartment afterwards, and in the manga he says something like, you know, did you not think I would be mad at you for rejecting me? And
Yeah.
I I don't know about you guys, but I kind of feel like he's fronting there. I don't think that's the reason that he did that, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think he did it for Sana, and she's just
Yeah.
not in a
I mean,
place
I
where she's
think
rational enough to see that, you know?
Hmm.
for me, it felt more like he wanted her to think that he did it for that reason because he was mad at her because he didn't want it to let his kind of soft side showed up to her because
Mm,
he knows that he loves her a lot and he consents her a lot if we think about it, but he doesn't want her to know that he's suffering because of her. So when
mm,
she just shows up at his house, he's acting all tough, like, oh, I don't want to be friends with you, or oh, like we know in the inside that he will do anything to be with her and talk to her, but he doesn't want her to know that. He doesn't want her to know that he cannot, like, he can live without her kind of feeling. I don't know why he does it. That's what it appears to me, that he wants to show her that he can move on without her, even though he confessed his feelings to her and she felt super bad about it. Which is why I think like he's maybe putting up this front to let her feel less sad for him, make her not worry about him. So when he has like all this like the wine, supposedly wine was actually juice in his
mm.
hand and he's moving it around, acting all tough. He just wants to like show off the attitude, like, oh, I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want to talk to you. But actually I do, and I'm helping you from behind the scenes because I want you to be happy, even if that means that I'm not part of your happiness. And it's he's always doing the backyard job, and I love him for it, but I just felt so bad for him.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense because, and this is just something that I've noticed and I've studied since I've studied psychology in college. And something I've noticed with males, it seems like they like to appear very strong, especially with women that they are interested in. And I think that's kind of the deal with Natsumi. He wants to appear strong for his girl because he doesn't want her to feel scared or be in pain because he knows that if she sees that, then she's going to feel the same way. And I've actually seen this a lot with you know, men in my life. Like I feel like they're naturally wired to want to be strong and appear strong, even if they're breaking apart on the inside. And we actually see this with all the male characters, I feel like, in Kodocha. Like, Ray would be a great example of this because, you know, Ray had to kind of pretend for Sana for a long time because he didn't want to hurt her. And I think that's why I think that's why Natsumi's like that. And you can see that bring back the arm wrestling scene. He didn't want to be seen as some weak little boy.
Yes, that's our boy. That's definitely a thought. I was so sad in that particular chapter too when Sana was just like, friendship over. I'm like, no, he did a good thing for
Mm.
you. You just don't know it yet. And I headcanon that they have a really lovely heart to heart about that period of time later in life.
And I think that's when we realize that they're actually just children.
Yeah.
Sana not really knowing what the sacrifice that he did for her and just thought of it as him being mean to her. It's like, oh, you did this to me. How dare you? Don't talk to me anymore. Bye. It's like, okay, here we know that she doesn't truly understand how this works.
Yeah.
Our
No, I
Sana,
mean,
she's so dense.
I know. I was also, she's taking, well, that's something too. Asana takes things very much like at face value. So now Zumi told her that he made that choice because he was angry with her. And she was like, yep. And you are being honest about that right now. And I'm not going to think further about this. You know, or like, and you see it earlier in the series too, when Tsuyoshi's like, how do you not know? And she's like, he has never said it to me with words. How am I supposed to know that Akito likes me if he's not using it with his face? Like, you know, any other thoughts on that little chunk?
I'm good. I've said everything that I can think of.
All right, so I guess then that means moving right along, we're talking about the truth of San and Naozumi's first meeting, which is unfortunately not covered in the anime. Chapter 46.
Yeah, they really screwed the pooch on that one. That should have been in there.
Yeah.
That's like the most important thing that happens in the whole series, if you ask me.
Oof.
It is. I really, because let's think about it. If he hadn't saved her, parenthesis, that day, then she will still be acting all like she's happy and she will have her face all straightening off like a doll. So this first meeting of theirs like really had an impact on her.
I do think it's very funny though that well also one, like we gotta thank Shimura for being the one to remember what happened there. Justice for Shimura all day, every day.
The unsung hero of Kodocha.
I'm a Shimura stan.
Me too.
Times three.
But yeah, I love that. I really love that moment in the manga where they're like, let's reenact this. Here's a wig, Akito, enjoy. It's a pretty, there's some humor in all of the pain.
That's what I love about Kodocha. They be making me cry all night long, and then next thing I know is that they're making me laugh with all this silly random stuff.
Oh yes, I completely agree. The best thing about the show. Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. A little side note though, I feel like Kodocha's one of the only shows that makes me laugh out loud. Like there's shows that have funny moments and I kind of chuckle or I smile, but like that show has me laughing out loud like for a solid like 10 seconds.
I agree to you. We get the goofy side of us get out whenever we see the Sana doing these silly things, or she suddenly you can see her like there is this a specific episode where she's singing a sad song. I think it's because of Ray. Not sure. And then she suddenly gets all happy and starts singing and like yay and jumping in her bed. And I'm like, wait, weren't we crying 3 minutes ago? What happened?
That's our girl. She's got, I was about to say that she has a pretty quick bounce back rate. I don't actually know if that's true necessarily, because, and especially we notice this in volume 9 when she's kind of dealing with her guilt over Akito's arm, that, you know, she can keep it happy on the outside, even though on the inside she's really struggling. And that's, as we already discussed today, one of her big lessons over the course of the show. You know?
But bouncing back to Sana and Naos in this moment, I found so many things on there. I found it funny how she thought he was a girl, or I don't know if it was she or Shimura that thought that he was a girl. I mean, he's cute, we get it. He's the prettiest and cutest boy out there, and him with long hair, understandable. But I just find that part to be so funny. And then we are introduced to this whole scenario where he figures it out and he's so happy about it, but then he has to adjust to the situation and he has to somehow act this out. It's like I like how they integrated him in here because Obana had been neglecting him the whole series. I think she forgot he existed for a whole volume, and then she's like, "Oh wait, right? I have Naozumi here." Like sometimes I want to fight Obana for that, but love her. So yeah, let's say I forgive her. And yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool if they had a Naozumi manga like about his early life and how Sana influenced him. I think that'd be pretty cool. Like, you know, we got Mansion of Water spinoff, we got Deep Clear, but I feel like his character, out of all of them would benefit the most from having his own spin-off manga or anime.
Agree.
I disagree actually, because I think that Gomi could use a spin-off manga, actually.
Gomi?
I'm joking. That was fully a joke. I'm so sorry. I'll never
Oh
do
my
it again.
gosh.
You were so
I
serious
was
about
silly.
it.
Oh my
you fooled
gosh.
me for sure.
Oh man,
Oh
y'all took
wow.
that really seriously. I'm so sorry. Never again. I will
I
never
mean,
make another joke
honestly,
again.
we could have used more episodes. I thought there was like this short 2-episode thing about him in the anime I thought was kind of interesting, but yeah, okay.
Fully joking. I completely agree. Naozumi would definitely benefit from a spin-off of some kind. I wish Obana would come back around to the series a bit more. I feel like Ribbon bullies her into doing something every like 5 to 10 years, but I don't think of her own accord she would come back to this, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there has been not reboots. There has been things coming out. Like we got the stage play in what 2015, 2016,
Yeah.
I found it. And
Mhm.
then we got a Ribbon special 40 years episode by her. And then there are these pop-ups coming on Japan where they organize Ribbon organizes all shoujo manga kind of store where they exhibit the original artworks and stuff, and it happens every year. So it's like we still have them being exposed to us, but not into the oh here you have more new content when it comes to Rebound, but more like oh here you have a reminder that this is over, but I know you love it and you want more, so just come see my exhibition and have some fun and buy some merch. And if I lived in Japan, they would be having all my money. I don't
Oh
care if
yeah.
I live in the streets, give everything to me. But sadly, it's not possible.
Oh, I completely hear you. I fully intend one day I hope to visit, and I intend to spend a long time like going through thrift stores looking for mostly old Kodocha stuff. That's like my primary goal when visiting one day. I mean, also like to see other things, but that is going to be a large portion of my trip for sure.
So
Dream big.
speaking of the stage play, I did want to mention here that Lee has taken on the task of putting subtitles on the stage play. And I wanted to
Lee.
put that out there because I mean, you're doing the work, girl. Like, yes, thank you so much for that.
Lee, that's huge. Oh my God.
You. I cannot assure everything will be 100%. This is all from memory, and I haven't done much really because it's so hard to work on it. I'm trying to find a better software where I could work on it within my computer. But for now, I have like what 20 minutes in translated. So I'm hoping I could finish it and give it as a gift by Santa's birthday next year. So
Not
hopefully,
bad.
if I have it by March, I will have it published or I will have it shared with you guys so that we can put it out there for our English speakers to see.
Oh my gosh. That would be,
That's
yeah,
exciting.
that's Lee, you're always doing the most for this fandom.
I'm
The
doing my best.
services that you have given to us, we don't deserve you.
I don't
We
deserve
don't.
you guys either. So
No, stop.
let's not talk about that.
I'm fine. Totally not crying in the club right now.
Aw. I think if Obana ever reboots the series, she should add a character named Lee.
For sure. For sure.
That's so sweet. Thank you guys.
You're welcome.
Focusing on the task at hand, which is our boy. Love that first meeting. Oh, can we talk about chapter 48, Naozumi rejecting Sana because he's the best and most outstanding boy with a pure
I
heart?
know. He had every opportunity to be with her, and he said no because he knew that the best thing for Sana was to be with Akito.
It's fine. I'm
This is
fine.
where he wins us over. This is the moment where he says, "Listen, if you didn't like me in the past, do it now. Do it now." Because it's so I have no words to explain how much I felt at that moment. I was like, what I'm going to be honest, the very first time that I read the manga and I watched the anime, I wasn't a huge fangirl of his. I was into Akito and Sana 100%. I love my boys. I loved them even more in the past. But then after reading this for the second time and after just taking my time to analyze everything through, I was just like, my boy, where have you been this whole time? Why didn't I see you? Because
Aw.
he's so outstanding. He does all of these things that even though it hurts him, even though he doesn't get any benefit from it, and even though he knows that his feelings will not be responded, he still does it because he loves Sana. And that's what makes me like, come on, I'm a hug you. Sana doesn't want to. You have me here. Come here. I'm gonna give you a hug. Because it's just so beautiful. And then this part, chapter 48, is like he had to work. He had to go into a trip. He had to plan everything for this trip. Yet he still showed up every time Sana needed him. He had conversations with her. He planned things with her. And he was just there to make her feel better. He tried everything he could without his knowledge and within his power to help her out. And then she suddenly tells him, hey, I actually think I like you. I want to be with you. I wish that I choose you instead. And then he has all these emotions and he's happy and he actually thinks about it. You can see in one panel on the manga how his face is all like all happy and all like overwhelmed by this. But then he's like, okay, let me think about it. And I think that's when he realized and he understood that whatever was happening at the moment was not Sana's decision, but it was what she felt due to the situation she was in. And then he's like, I'm sorry. No. And then he goes out, finds Akito, and then he's crying. I'm like, oh, why? Oh, Mana, why are you doing this to me?
You know, and then Akito coming in and being like, why are you crying? Classic Akito. Naozumi's like,
Yeah.
talk about it.
Honestly, at that point in the manga, I did a double take. I was like, wait, he rejected her? Hold up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I hate the Sana that said that to me, he says. I'm like, oh, everything hurts. I love that
Really
he kind of
funny.
like led her kind of back through it too and was like, you know, who did you want to go to Dreamland with? Like, who think about this, remember? And yeah, because I think that was also during the period where she was like, I don't know who my boyfriend is,
Yeah.
which was tough to read.
Mhm.
I really sometimes just don't want to reread the manga because I know that this harsh stuff is going to show up and I know that I'm going to feel bad all over Naozumi again. But I still read it. I'm actually rereading it again every time I on my way to school. I pick a volume. I started actually like what Monday and I'm into it again because I just love it so much. It makes me so happy and it's like okay, all the situations are happening and not everything is perfect, but we have these moments in where everything just feels right. It feels alright. And then we have from this same chapter, Naomi telling Akito, hey, why don't you whisper sweet things to her ear? Why don't you say cute things to her? And he's like, oh, sure. And then he goes and says chocolate and sweet things to Sana, but not in the sense that he wanted to. So it's like, it's hilariously funny, even though it's so sad and we have all these things happening. That's like why I love Kodocha so much. And to Sana, in those specific parts, I was so mad at her. I really had to think things over. I was like, listen, she's not doing this because she wants to. My girl is sick. My girl is going through so much. And then the other side of me is like, no, listen, why are you doing this? Don't you see those boys fighting over you outside? Sana, hello, wake up. It's like
Right.
how you see in cartoons, like the angel and the devil controlling the main character, like, hey, but you know, this is bad. I'm like, no, don't do this.
Yeah, I think like when I first read like the, you know, mask syndrome, doll syndrome thing in the manga, I was kind of I remember feeling very frustrated until I don't remember. I don't know if it's in an author note in the actual manga or if it was something Obana said on her blog, but basically where she was like her like Sana and Akito were switching roles. Whereas like Sana is becoming less expressive, Akito is becoming more expressive over the course of that arc. And that kind of helped me understand a bit more like where she was coming from as an author, which helped, but it didn't make it any less like difficult to read or frustrating. because of all of the people who love her so much who kind of suffered through that arc, Rei and Mama and Naozumi and Akito and the school crew. If they'd done it in the anime, Babbitt would have been sad.
I know.
What else did I want to say? Oh, that was something I was going to comment on. When is that the last we see of Naozumi?
Yes.
In the series?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh, jeez. What a send-off.
Right?
Totally.
Come on.
But we do get to see him return in the Deep Clear manga.
That's true. We do. Thank goodness. Our sweet boy.
So, Lee, what did you think of Naozumi's role in Deep Clear?
How do I say this? It's like I didn't expect to see him here, to be honest. I was like, this is going to be more about Sana and Akito and then their child and the whole situation. Like, I knew what this is going to be about. And then Obana suddenly shows him to me. I was like, I already cried enough during volume 10 of the manga, or after you told me absolutely nothing of his whereabouts after he left to Abjit. So you showing him to me in here and then telling me that he is with a partner but he still loves Sana broke my heart even more. I was so happy when I saw his face. Like, oh wait, Naosumi is here. What? Oh my god, he's so handsome. He's shining. He looks so fine. I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting you here, but I'm happy to see you here. And then they told me that he is now with a partner. I was like, oh yes, finally, happiness to you. Tell me more, expand it on me. And at the end, we hear from the detective, which is now Sana's friend, scamming through him, and then she figured out that he never gave up on Sana, even up to that moment, and he wasn't able to love no one else. That he tried to love other girls, but he wasn't able to. And then he found this guy, which is his roommate, and then he is starting something with him, but he still cannot let Sana go. Even though she's now married, even though she now has a baby, he's still a sucker for her. And I was like, I know your love was pure, but I didn't know it was this pure. Like, my boy, you did so much for her. She did help you so much, but at the end, she totally she kicked you out. She said no, and you're still here. You're still after her. You know the reason why you're after her. You love her. And yet, even though you know that you don't have a chance, you're still here. Like, okay, I was happy. I took it with me. But what made me super angry was how they didn't put him in the family meeting at the end. When Sana is throwing this party with all her friends, there's Mama, there's all the characters, everyone is here, but we have no hints of Naozumi. Like, he disappears.
I didn't like that either.
That was so upsetting. Like, he's also part of the family. He has been there. Everyone knows him, but he wasn't included in the family event.
My take on that was very much that, like, he is always working. Like, to me, it didn't seem like a slight. Like, if he could have been there, I feel like he would have been there. I don't think Sana would have left him out, Right? Maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That makes sense. But, like, I guess my frustration is more, like, Obana didn't include him.
That's
but
fair.
Like, your reasoning does make sense, though. But I feel like including him at the end would have been better. And yet again, we're left on this sad note for Naozumi, that we were left on at the end of the Kodocha manga, and now here we are again. It's like kicking us when we're already down.
Yeah. And let's do think on it. Let's do think that Obana didn't left him out, but that he was busy with work. But come on, we know how he is with Sana. If Sana tells him that she's in where in let's say she travels to Argentina and she's like, hey Naosumi, what are you doing? Wanna come visit me here? He will do anything for her. So he will even travel to Argentina just to be with her if she tells him to do it. Unless he's going through this emotional phase in where he's like trying to stop thinking about her, or he's trying to get away with it. But we saw in their interaction when he came to the acting agency in Deep Clear that he was fine seeing her. He already knew she was married. He already knew she had a baby by now. And he was still fine on seeing her. He didn't seem upset. He didn't try to avoid her. He was just straightforward with her. So if Sana told him, hey, I have a family event, blah, blah, blah day, can you come? Or we're going to be throwing a party to introduce the baby. I know that he will for sure be there earlier than anyone else being, or hey Sana, I'm here. Let me see my little the little baby or something. Because for her, he will do anything. So I was thinking on this whole scenario while I was reading it, and all the possibilities, all the things that could have happened, but it just didn't stood right with me. And he's not included in many of the things at all, which was what made it even harder for me to like see him in there, but not seeing him at all.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you on that. I just like I feel like the point of his character is to show how tragic it is and but also convey how much he loves her. And like I mean if you think about it, he's loved her for more than a decade at that point in Deep
Yeah.
Clear. And it's like, whoa, you know, because that's a lot, you know. When I think about me personally, you know, if there's someone that I might have been interested in that I loved, that, you know, I'd eventually be able to move on, but we see that Naozumi wasn't able to do that. And I feel like that's just, that's a lot. Like, you don't really see that in characters in fiction that often. Eventually they move on and they're happy, but Naozumi, he's never happy, and maybe that was her point, was and not including him in anything was to show just how sad he was. But I still wish he could have gotten a happier ending, because it's like, I don't know, it just feels that's why I was saying he needs his own manga spinoff, because it just feels not empty, but just like there just needs to be more. There needs to be some closure with him.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what I say to that? Be the fan fiction you want to read in the world. Like I love Kodocha so much, but there are so many, you know, especially between volume 10 and Deep Clear, there's a lot of holes there for me, questions I have, things that I've wondered, things that I'd like to see and know more of. And, you know, like I find it very therapeutic to just like write out the headcanons and try to give some further context and I won't say justice, but like, you know, just more attention to some of the characters that I feel get kind of left behind. Because, you know, she had a 30-page limit per month, right? So she's trying to do a lot with a little, and that's hard, right? So but I hear you. I hear you both, and I agree generally. I have a lot of headcanon filling in the gaps for some of the stuff in Deep Clear. And, you know, because there are times in the series where, you know, Naozumi wants to be there for Sana, but can't because of a work thing. And obviously he does go above and beyond and does everything he can for her. Like I'm also thinking about, it must be volume 8 when Akito's in the hospital and, you know, Sana's waiting to see that he's stable before going to the live shoot. And Naozumi's like, you know, I'll take over for this live portion because it's happening right now. And my thing that's taped later, you know, we'll just go do that afterwards. So I do feel like with Sari's party, like if he could have been there, he would have been there. And I think that between volume 10 and Deep Clear and over the years, like him and Sana stay friends and stay in touch, because that's probably what keeps the little flame in his heart burning, is the fact that they're still friends.
That
right?
makes sense.
That's just me though. Any other final thoughts on him?
I actually did want to say, and I know Lee was talking about this earlier, I think before we got into our Deep Clear discussion. But I wanted to bring up the fact that, you know, I feel like we love these characters because to me, they feel more relatable than any other shoujo or any anime in general that I've seen. And I think that's why I feel I'm so invested in this series, is because every time I watch it or read it, I learn something new about each of the characters, like even side characters. And I think that's why I keep going back to it all the time. And it's like you said, about how, you know, Obana had a limit, you know, to what she could write. But I feel like if she had the time, she maybe would have developed more characters like Gomi, or, you know, a character I feel like could have used more development would be Aya.
Oh, yes. Aya Sugita for president.
Yes.
Anda, Mommy.
Yes.
I could go on.
There are so many.
There are. It's a zany cast of characters. I think we were talking about that in the Discord at some point, like the front of volume 10, all of the entire cast of characters, but then I think Mommy is not on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was looking
we
for
We got freaking Akito's like kind of energetic friend from class, but not Mommy-chan. What's happening? Anyway, it's fine. Justice for Mommy.
Well, I think that's about all I have to say about Naozumi and everything else. What about you all?
I don't think I have much more other than that he's a sweet angel boy, and we are blessed to have him.
We agree. We agree. I don't have any more thoughts on the parts that he has shown up. I just feel like there could be so much more, but it's like you mentioned, M. Let us leave it to the fanfic imagination world where we write what we want or we wish that could have happened. I just have this very felt like connected to him because he's not he's not the usually person that you will see where he's expecting something from what he gives. He just does it out of pure love because he really wants the person he loves to be happy. And that's what stood up most to me. And that's the very first thing that comes to mind whenever I think of him. And whenever I see Kodocha again, or reread it or rewatch it, it's just how much this boy has to give, yet how much he's asking for, which is nothing at all. And it's just, it feels, it makes my heart go boom, boom, you know?
Aw.
What he's asking for, which is nothing at all. That, you hit it on the head. That's it. That hit hard. Oh God. Okay. Forget about leaving on a high note. We're gonna leave like Naozumi Kamura and be sad. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much, Lee, for joining us. It was amazing to have the Sweet Angel Baby Boys, biggest fan, here to broaden our perspectives and give your very valued input. It's been really, really wonderful to have you.
Oh, thank you very much. It makes me happy to speak on him. So being here and sharing my thoughts with you guys has been one of the best things I have done this year. So thank you for inviting me.
I hope you come back. We would love to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like let's do this again sometime, guys.
Yes.
Well, great. Well then, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Drop your favorite Naozumi Kamura moment in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to 19 O'Clock News, a Kodocha podcast.
19 O'Clock News is hosted by That Kodocha Girl and Mahou Shoujo M.
We love making new friends. Feel free to join us in the Kodocha Discord under Kodocha_media.
19 O'Clock News is not affiliated with any current or previous rights holders to Kodomo no Omocha by Miho Obana.